Hello, I'm Mal and welcome to another episode of Mini Model Makes. In this episode I'll be going through how to make a snow themed base for your models. Recently I've been doing a Space Wolves project and people have commented on the bases I've done for my Space Wolves. I've had some quite favourable comments, so I thought I'd share on here how I do them. So if you want to do any Space Wolf bases and want them snow based, or any other models you want out there, just gives you some tips on how to do it and how to hopefully make a really good looking base. So without much further ado, I will go through the materials you need for this little project. The first things are, you will need some Mechanicus Standard Grey spray from Citadel. We've got our 32mm base, some Woodland Scenic Snow, which you can pick up from any kind of hobby shop, transport hobby shop. The sort of model train places are really good for this, but of course everyone is starting to do their own versions of snow now. It's becoming quite a popular thing. Some slate, which you can get from any kind of common garden centre. PVA glue, super glue, an old tatty paintbrush you have lying around, a texture applicator from Citadel, which is what I use for putting the snow onto the base. Modelling sand, available from any good hobby shop. The paints we are using today will be Rhinox Hide, XV88, Screaming Skull, Mechanicus Standard Grey, Dawnstone and Pallid Witch Flesh. And the last thing which I forgot to tell you about is we will be using some Army Painter Frozen Tufts, which once more are available from any good hobby shop. I'll try and put some links into the video so you can look them up and buy them later. And that is everything we're going to need. If you stick around till the end of the video, what I will put up as well, I'll put up a couple of my Space Wolves so you can see what the bases look like with the model on fully done. Okay, time to crack on. Now, as well as being able to make these bases from all the materials I've just described, I'd just like to draw your attention to some resin bases that are already out there. There are lots of websites and companies which are starting to sell some really good quality, amazing resin bases that you can use straight away with your armies now, to save you messing about with all these materials at home. These bases or this base I'm going to show you now is from a company called the 36 Chambers, which I found on eBay. I bought 10 bases from them just to give them a try, and to be fair, when they're sprayed up and painted, you can't tell the difference between the two. So look them up on eBay. Really well priced, nice models, especially if you're in the UK. For some reason, nearly all the people who seem to do resin bases are in Poland, and it can really work out, although they are amazing, it can really work out very expensive to base an entire army. I did a Thousand Suns project not too long ago, and I bought some Egyptian style or themed bases from a company in Poland, and it was like between €5 and €6 for a 40mm, two 40mm Terminator bases. So it can get expensive really quickly if you don't want to make them yourselves. But I just thought I'd let you know about that option so you know it's out there. Okay. We begin with our base. This is a 32mm base I've got to hand, and a piece of slate which you can pick up from garden centres. You can also get them from hobby shops. You can get them online on eBay and Amazon. Just be really careful out there, because you can pick up bags from a garden centre for about £5 or £6 over here in the UK, and people can be selling them on eBay, little tiny bags with just a few in for a couple of pounds. So you know, you can get a massive bag for just a little bit more. Don't fall for the trap that these are special hobby pieces of slate. They're not. You can pick them up anywhere. Garden centre is your best bet. So I'm going to put some glue down on this base, super glue. Once again, available from any hobby shop, available online. If you don't know where to get super glue, you're really doing this hobby. And all I'm going to do is glue that into position there, ready to go. For the next part of the base now, I'm going to get my PVA glue. I'm popping it into a little pot. So again, PVA glue you can get anywhere, online, hobby shops, stationery shops, you know, everywhere has it. And really old, horrible, worn out paintbrush in my PVA glue, and just liberally spread that around our base. Make sure you get under the crevices of the piece of slate that you've put on. Going under there. That's done. And then a little pot of hobby sand. Just bury the base in there. Take it out. What I like to do is just make sure I've got nice clean edges. So I'm just taking off some of the sand with my finger. Our base thin shot there. Oh. Just check, make sure everywhere's covered. There's a little area here I'm just going to touch up. A bit more PVA on there. Sorry, I had a shot there for you guys. Pop that into there. Give your brush a good wash after you've done this. I know it's an old, tired, rubbish brush you're using, but try to keep it so you can use it for this sort of thing more than once. There's my base. Most importantly, lid back onto that hobby sand quickly so you don't knock it flying and send sand everywhere. And there's our base. What I'm going to do is leave that to dry now for about 10 or 20 minutes. Moving on, I have sprayed that base you just saw previously now with some Mechanicus standard grey base coat from a rattle can. As always, spray in a well ventilated area. Keep it away from anyone who doesn't like spray, like my wife. Just look after yourselves, guys, because the propellants in there can be nasty. The spray actually helps as well to glue that sand that we've put onto the base, and that rock helps to keep it all together as well as the glue we've got on there, and to protect it a little bit. So I'm now going to use some of my Rhinoxide. I'm mixing that up on a palette, and I'm going to pick out now the areas which are sand. With the Rhinoxide. Make sure you get under the piece of slate that you've used as a rock. Nothing worse than painting things in batches and then having to go back a little bit later on because you've just missed a spot when you think you're all done with the colour. That's one, and I'm going to do this one here as well while I've got it. So quickly again, doesn't take long. If you've mixed quite a bit of water in with this Rhinox hide, you should get some really nice coverage with the paint. A little bit more Rhinox hide into the mix on my palette. That's it. This is a new experience for me, trying to paint this with a camera above me. This is a new setup I've got from my last video where I've managed to get a little bar suspending from the cupboards I have above me, and that's holding a video camera that I've picked up second hand in place. Moving on to the next stage now, which is to do some more work on the slate rock. What I've done is I've got some Mechanicus Standard Grey and some Dawnstone. I have mixed those up onto my palette. It's a 50-50 mix here. So you're looking for something this kind of texture. And what I'm going to do is dry brush that onto the rock. For dry brushing, just get some of the paint that I've mixed. Wipe most of it off your brush onto a piece of tissue paper, a kitchen towel or anything like that. Work it into the bristles, and then what we're going to do is just run it quickly over the slate area of the rock, and it starts to pick up the raised edges. Get a little bit more. Picks up the raised edges that the natural slate's so wonderful for this sort of thing, because of all the little ridges and things the slate has naturally. So it picks it up really well. And this stage is as simple as that. We'll be moving on shortly to how I highlight some of the other bits and pieces, but I'm going to just do a few more bases and I'll catch up with you soon. The next stage now is to get out some XV88. We're dry brushing again, so get some of it onto your brush, really work it into the bristles of the brush using that piece of kitchen roll to wipe the excess off, and then gently start to run that over the areas of the base which aren't covered by stone. So picking up those areas there. Got another one here. Let's do a bit on that. It doesn't matter if you get it on the edge of the base, because you're going to base your bases with whichever colour you want to put on the rims to match your army later. Okay, I'll just finish those off and we'll move on to the next stage. Now this is where I believe the real magic of making a base begin to look good is with the final really light dry brushes. So for this next one now, I have my Citadel Screaming Skull. It's absolutely covered in paint, so you can't really read it. Wipe most of it off onto our paper and faint little dry brushes over the areas of the earth. Really starts to pick out the rough edge of that basin sand, and give us a base we can work with. I'm going to use some pallid witch flesh, same as before, onto your paper, wipe most of it off. Very, very light dry brush over the top of this, bit too much on the brush still. To give that slate a bit of texture. We're now at the fun bit. This is the bit I like most of all about making these snow bases. We are going to use our woodland scenery snow. We're going to pop some PVA glue into a suitable receptacle. Quite a bit of the PVA glue into there, and then sorry I have to do this off camera, a really good amount of the snow, and we're going to use our Citadel applicator brush. There we are, that's in focus. And I'm just going to stir that snow into the PVA to make a paste. Now, really, it's up to you how much or how little you want to use. The more snow you put into it, the rougher the texture look, and the more it'll look like sort of disturbed, uneven snow. I like to have quite a lot of PVA and quite a smooth mix. I like it to look like the snow's begun to drift, you know, it's not been disturbed for ages, and then my models have come along and, you know, they're about to set foot in it and disturb it. So I've mixed a nice paste up there. Now normally as well, I do this in a box because the snow gets everywhere. There's nothing worse than having to clear off your hobby area because of little tiny bits and pieces of snow. So I've got some on the brush there. I'm just going to move the base away so you can sort of see the consistency we are at. The thing to bear in mind with this is remember where your model is going to stand on that base, in which case on mine is going to be standing on the slate. So I'm just going to apply some snow and then use the applicator to spread it out. Get it so it's nice and smooth. What you can do with some of these, it can start to sort of, gravity will take hold of it and it can start to come down. You can get some really good effects with it if you sort of leave it to to go and hang over the edges of the slate rocks and things really does give that impression of drifting snow, which is great. So I've got my amount of snow on there. Now with this one, it does take quite a long time to dry, so you're going to have to put them to one side and really forget about them for a bit. But that's one there, and what we'll do is I'll carry on with some of these bases. Now you've seen one, and I'll get back to you when I'm ready to do the next stage. One thing I forgot to do before the tufts, or what I like to do, you don't need to do this, it's a bit of an optional step. I like to just get a little bit of the snow on the applicator and just dust it over the top of the area that I've done with the snow paste. It just gives it that little bit more sparkle, that little bit more texture. As I say, I normally do this in a box because this snow gets everywhere, but it would be really difficult to film. So just this once, I'm going to pop it on these without a box, and I'll just have to get a little hand hoover and give it a bit of a blast. Okay, so that's just a little bit more snow on the bases. Quite like this one, you can see on that, it's just starting to come and sink down and look like naturally drifting snow. I'll leave those for a bit now because they do take quite a long time to dry, and I will be back with you shortly. Finally, we have our base here, almost completed. What we need to do now is just pop a little bit of tundra tuft, or frozen tuft, sorry. Let's get that into shot. This is Army Painter Frozen Tuft. You get 77 tufts, all of different sizes, as you can see. I picked this up at my local hobby shop. This one's made by the Army Painter. What I really like about these ones are, I don't know if you can make it out, but there's like little bits of snow in with the grass, so it does give it that sort of frosty cold look, which is amazing. So what I'm going to do is pop one of these onto this base. Now I've seen people cover the bases, just completely cover them in snow and things. For some reason I just don't think it looks right. It looks better if you've just got like a little bit of snow on, a little bit of rock, and a little bit of this grass showing. So all I'm going to do now is pop a little blob of super glue onto this base. These tufts are quite sticky anyway, you can sort of make out they're on this piece of paper. But a little bit of super glue to hold them in place doesn't go amiss. And all I'm going to do is, with some tweezers, pop that grass onto there, spread it out a bit like that, and bar painting the edge black so it fits in with the rest of my army that I'm using this base with. That's it complete. That's a snow base done. So I hope that's been useful to you guys, and I'll summarise up shortly. So that's the end of this video on basing models with a snow themed base. I hope you got some good information there, and it's given you the ability and the knowledge needed to tackle some snow bases. Would be really good if you pop some pictures of your progress or tell me about it in the comment section, which would be amazing. The other things I would need to tell you is if you could be good enough to like and share this video, and also to subscribe. This is only my third video, and I've used a new sort of camera setup for most of this, so bear with me. I'm still getting to grips with YouTube and things. I will be putting links in the comments section below on where you can get some of these materials from on Amazon. If you could be good enough to click on those and buy something, I get a little bit of a knockback through the affiliate program. Costs you nothing but time. I also have a Facebook page, which is Mini Model Makes. I will put a picture of that so you don't have to see my face for too long over this now. Hopefully that'll be on screen now for you, so you can go to there. It's a brand new Facebook page, so please come and join us. Let's get the ball rolling. Would be nice if I had a little bit of a hobby community to talk and share progress on projects with. And that's everything. I'll see you soon. Okay, bye for now.